Do they have any cool... Do they ever use flashlights for the vagina? And if so, do they have like a cool flashlight?
I bet they do. I feel like I have seen kind of like a headpiece that has one of those kind of scopy, long, flexible.
Yeah, and maybe has a camera and a flashlight on it.
Maybe.
Vagina cam. Nah, it has a way better name than that.
Okay, we can get this. Shh. Nobody's listening, right? Hi, Andy.
Hi.
Is anybody listening?
Yeah.
Is anybody listening?
Yeah. This one's from Mabel, which, by the way...
Great name.
One of my favorites. I worked with a Mabel in New York, and she was just the most adorable, best coworker of all time.
Honestly, if we had another daughter,
Yeah.
I would want that to have been on the table. Mabel on the table. I also, I feel like that goes with our names, Teddy, Otis, and Mabel.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
I also found out that after we named Teddy, I have like distant ancient relatives named Olive. I love that name also.
Olive's great.
But I love our names. I'm very happy with them, and they fit our kids great.
Shout out Mabel.
Love Mabel.
You had us at Mabel. I'm listening. Glory to be to our favorite patron, Saint Monica.
Woo!
I recently started listening and honestly haven't been able to stop. That's exactly what we like to hear. Your podcast has been my go-to through a recent tough breakup, and I can't thank you enough for letting us be a part of your world. Your conversations have kept me company, made me laugh when I hadn't all day, and reminded me that love and partnership can look many different ways, but deeply enjoying one another should remain high on my list of hopes for the future. Thanks for navigating this weird life aloud with us. It means more than you know.
Oh my God.
Are you crying yet, Elizabeth?
Yes! I am genuinely tearing up.
How much more do you like the name Mabel now?
Oh my gosh, that is so nice.
That's really, really, really sweet.
You know, I was thinking like back in the Totally Lame days, how we had our soundboard that it was like beep beep and all the. Mm-hmm. I wish we should have a sound for Saint Monica.
Fitting. Ooh.
Like ah.
Oh my gosh, that really is something that I could. Well, I could put it in post.
But wouldn't it be fun to just press the button?
Just a big, huge red button we have in the middle of the studio.
With like a crown on it.
Don't get me started, because you know that's something I could set up. Okay.
I want us to.
With a crown.
Or like a halo, a saint thing. Okay, so this is a great time to remind everyone, if you want to support our show, go to patreon.com/nobody's listening right. You get a bonus free episode every month. Mm-hmm. Also, an occasional Mario Kart tournament.
Ooh.
Happy to announce the next one is going to be Friday, May 12th at 7 p.m. PST.
Sweet.
Friday, May 12th, 7 p.m. PST. I'm going to be practicing. I'm putting Tetris to the side.
Bullshit. You fucking... I want to call you out, because I kind of think you deserve to be called out.
I do.
This morning... It's hard getting the kids ready to school and get them out the door. And you were super mom. You got up. You went to Starbucks to get some gift cards for Teacher Appreciation Day.
Yes.
Shout out to you for doing that. Uh-huh. You got back. You walk in with the Starbucks
Breakfast
pastries.
Is ready.
Everyone's excited. But it wasn't, you had another agenda. You were like, I'm going to get up. I'm going to go to Starbucks. I'll get pastries so I don't have to worry about breakfast. I'm going to put them on the table, and then I'm going to start playing Tetris.
Yeah.
You were playing Tetris while the kids were still getting ready for school.
Listen.
And the kids called you out on it. Teddy was like, Mom, really?
Well, listen, it gives me a serotonin hit. I have a very busy day today. I'm going to be out there on the strike lines picketing with my fellow Writers Guild union members. It's a long-ass day of walking the same path. I needed to set myself up for success, and the way to do that is Tetris. And that's been scientifically proven. That Tetris is like... Tetris scratches a specific itch for me that is both energizes me and calms me. And so... I know it's not a great example to set that mommy's waking up and first thing hitting the Tetris, but it's not going to become a daily thing. Today I needed it.
It's weird because your whole Tetris journey has gone on way longer than I ever thought it would have.
But it took a pause. I mean, I took a week and a half off.
Yeah, and you did go cold turkey, which I
'Cause I was
realized
puzzling.
you had a substitute. And then I guess it's going to be on pause for a while once that new Zelda game comes out next week.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
honestly, yes, get
Mama
used to.
going away for a while. I used to think, I think I asked you once, did you ever find it sexy how good I was at Tetris in the beginning? And you were
Yes.
like, maybe it was sort of like, you liked it, but
It
it
was
wasn't
more of a respect thing
Yeah, it
than
wasn't-
like a sexy thing.
Whereas like me early on, there was something sexy about you, how good you were at it.
Uh-huh.
But now as the problem gets away from you, I'm finding myself less attracted to the Tetris fantasy of
me?
it all. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I do have Otis and I watched like the Tetris Masters,
Oh, when
and
are you fitting that? When are you doing that?
I don't know, when we were hanging out, we watched it on YouTube.
Secret Tetris life.
And I will say, like, the guy who won got up to 250 lines. Now, they're all about points.
And you had to go change your whole ensemble after that.
I had to go change my panties. But honestly, I'm not that far off from that.
No, and I
Like, what if this becomes kind of a...
But what if...
I'm at 213 lines, in case anyone's wondering. The guy who won got to 250. Now, 213 to 250 is a big, big leap. It's a big difference.
Oh, wait, so he was playing the version we play?
He's playing like old school, and he was playing on old school controller.
That would turn me on to see you get into the old school, because that's where you'd have to head if you want to get serious about like the competition
Bring it.
Also,
I'm not working.
What if, I don't even want to put this out there, but like, what if you stepped outside of our marriage because of Tetris? Like you and like, let's give them a name.
I
What
mean,
would the name be for like this Tetris guy who's like
Charlie Wu.
Charlie Wu? Okay. Like, what if you...
First of all, he's very young. It's not my style. He's probably in his mid-20s, late 20s.
Oh, wait, this is like a specific person you're talking about?
Well, I don't know what his name is, but I'm
the
attributing a name to this young gent who won.
The Tetris guy that I'm talking about is more, he's like 55.
Oh.
And he's...
I'll stop you right there. No. No, thanks.
No. Let me finish
Okay.
the fantasy. And I didn't even think of this because you do sometimes have like the creepy old guy fantasy, which we've talked about, but I wouldn't, that's not where I was jumping off here, but I'm going to use what I got because that will help me in this situation. Okay. So he's like 55. He kind of looks like a dusty New England professor, not your bag really.
Yeah.
All grade, right? But then you see like how good he is at Tetris, and he kind of becomes like your nemesis because you are climbing up the charts and like you are the new kid on the block. And like, let's be honest, like you're a pretty cute catch in this Tetris world, right? So he's got his eye on you,
okay.
right?
I think I'm...
You think
I think all of this is absolutely ridiculous because, first of all, there are no 55-year-old pasty men crushing the Tetris game.
That
It's
is,
all
no
these
offense,
young guns.
maybe the dumbest thing you've ever said. There absolutely is.
No. At the top tier, it's all young kids.
Okay.
So anyway, but
how it happens, though, is he's got his eye on you. You definitely don't have his eye on you. But then next thing you know, you guys are the two finalists. It becomes like a heated rivalry. But then there has to be like some real pivotal emotional moment where this guy surprises you in a way that you never thought he could surprise you. And maybe it's just like an innocent kiss.
Ew.
And
gross. First of all,
I would be
kissing is never part of my.
I would be
kissing never plays a part.
I'm putting myself in this of you describing this whole thing that happened, and you're like, it was just an innocent kiss, and I'm like, how the fuck
Andy,
are we here?
honestly,
this dumb fucking Tetris game, and you just kissed Mr. Wu.
So listen, I just want to say a few things.
Yeah.
First of all, if I ever do step out on our marriage,
please don't.
I won't. But if it was just an innocent kiss, you have so much more to be worried about than if I was like, we banged in an alley somewhere. Like,
hey, I don't like that at all. Okay, I know what you mean, but take that back. Don't say stuff like that.
Take it. Okay, I take it back. You just pitched me. How is it that you're allowed to pitch me this whole...
This is not... It's much more implausible that you would ever be that good at Tetris. So
oh my God! Fuck you!
No, I don't know. I was making up a world, and you just went straight to banging in an alley and was like, you don't have to worry about that as much if I do that. That's just me getting my yayas out.
Okay, so...
Not yaya.
This brings us to Health Corner.
Okay.
So...
Can I say one thing about Health Corner before you go in? Because yours is pretty big.
Yeah.
Mine's quick.
Okay.
I had...
I didn't know that you had a Health Corner.
Yeah, sort of.
Oh.
I had a thing removed on my nose, a little carcinoma thing. What was that, 6 months ago? Maybe 8 months ago?
Yeah.
Anyways, I might have another one. I'm getting a little worried about it.
Yeah.
It's on the tip of my nose, but before we start recording, you go, do you want to put a little makeup on that? And I was like, oh, man.
Well, it was...
And here's a question I have for you.
Very intense, yeah.
I said, should I come inside with you? You're like, no, I'll go get it. And you were gone for a long time. And I just want to guess what happened, okay?
Oh,
Listen.
Okay.
This is what I think happened.
Okay.
You went inside.
Uh-huh.
And you found what do you call the makeup? Cover-up or something like that? What would you use for this, for my nose?
This is Touche Éclat by Yves Saint Laurent.
Even better. So you found that stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you grabbed your little makeup brush, and then you're like, oh, this is going to go on his gross nose. Mm-hmm. So the reason you were gone for so long is you were looking everywhere for an old spongy thing. Is that what happened?
You're half right. I wasn't gone that long.
You were gone longer than it should have taken.
No, I mean, I went in and I got the stuff and I came out. I really wasn't gone that long. If I was, I must have been getting...
You playing Tetris or something?
No. I don't think I was gone that long. I think that was in your mind or, perception. But I on the way in thought, God, his nose thing is like kind of crusting and bleeding. I don't want my Yves Saint Laurent Touche Éclat. It's a very cool kind of, it's for under eye makeup, but I use it as cover up, like spot treatment.
Oh, cool hack.
That is this beautiful pen, and then it has kind of a brush at the end, and you click out the product through the brush. So
you didn't want to use that on my
I don't want
to,
and it wouldn't even, I probably, well, no, with you, I probably would just use it to your skin because we're partners and not that big of a deal for one time. But like in general, I don't like you sharing. It's kind of gross sharing that sort of thing. So I thought about that on the way in. I found it right away and I came back.
You found that sponge right away? Mm-hmm. Was it like under the bathroom?
No, it was in my makeup case.
It just looks kicked.
Oh, no.
So
I thought barely been used, honestly.
Okay. I don't know enough about makeup. I just jumped when I saw that it looked like you pulled it out of the trash. And like, that's why. And you're like,
no, I
his
wouldn't
nose
do that.
gets the...
I wouldn't do that.
Okay, cool. Let's get to your health stuff.
Okay. Okay. I have been having, all of the ailments, they continue. But interestingly, I think it's all linked. And shockingly, the amount of ailments we complain about, me specifically on this podcast, there are plenty that I don't even mention. And I really, going back to like when I had my microdiscectomy and stuff, and I had my kidney stone and everything, I really think I have a lemon of a body. Like this bod is a lemon. Now, I hope that doesn't, nothing majorly serious so far. Thank God.
What's the expression? Lemons out of lemonade or lemonade out of lemons?
Make lemonade out of lemons. So probably a month and a half ago, I started having this weird ache in my vagina on one side. Mm-hmm. But it was so low.
Did you say on your vagina or in your vagina?
Inside. It's inside.
Okay.
The outside of your vagina is actually called vulva. The inside.
It's funny when you were even saying outside of the vagina, I wasn't, or when I said inside or outside, I wasn't, I was imagining more like on the front, like of you, like that you were feeling the pain.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
it's
I wasn't.
in my vaginal canal. Okay. So, it's very low grade, though, not really bothering me that much. Then in the last few days, it was really starting. The ache was becoming painful, and it was very much on one side. And at first, I was like, maybe it's another kidney stone, because that was the side that was problematic.
Okay.
And but it's a different sensation. Of course, I'm Googling. Of course, I'm like, I have cancer. Of course, I go to cancer.
What kind of cancer did you jump to? Ovarian
Well,
cancer?
honestly, this was the first time that you Google anything and cancer will be a possibility. I had a very hard time linking it to cancer.
Oh, okay, great.
So,
what kind of cancer were you looking for?
Well, like cervical cancer, symptoms are usually like pain can be a symptom, but it's more like sharp pain, bleeding, like that it's symptoms that didn't quite match this.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, and then on top of it, I will say shout out WGA. The last few days I've been up on my feet a shit ton, picketing, and there's something about that, like being just kind of leisurely walking around in the same place for 3 to 4 hours on end.
Puts the vagina through the ringer.
Takes a toll. And what I have realized, and I will get to this, is I'm kind of, I don't know. I think I'm holding myself wrong. And maybe that is what's going on with everything. Like the disc, anyway. So my knee was also swelling up through this. And so I go to the OBGYN yesterday. I love my OBGYN.
That's a great love to have.
Shout out. I'm going to say it. If anyone's in LA, I mean, I don't want her schedule to fill up too much. Just DM me if you want a great OBGYN in LA. She really listens to you. She talks to you like you're a human. And basically, she got in there.
The vagina.
The vag. I was having a pap smear. And I had told her about all of this, and she was like, whoa. I mean,
this is the coolest vagina I've ever seen.
Did you know there are gems in here? You can mine gems. Tanya, get me the scope.
No,
okay.
This is what actually happened. She looked at your vagina, and then she goes, whoa, do you play Tetris?
She didn't say whoa. She looked in, and she said, okay.
Very professional.
Here's what's going on. You have a wall of muscle. Now, I'm such an idiot. I didn't even really know what the muscle system was in this vagina.
Or any vagina?
This one, any of them. She was like, there is a wall of muscle on this side that is so in spasm that, like, she's like, put your thumb in and feel it.
Okay.
This one side of my vagina is like a brick wall built up, like it feels like it's a layer of bone right there. It's really hard. The other side is like soft and squishy and malleable.
And in theory, it's the same muscle system on both sides.
In actuality.
Yeah. But it's not one side is a certain thing, the other side.
No.
Okay.
And I mean, and do you remember, okay, this is about to get intimate. If you know me in real life, maybe this is uncomfortable. You might want to opt out. But like during sex a few weeks ago, I was like, this feels different. Do you remember that?
I do.
I mean, I think that must be, and I'm curious, for you, is it like a choose your own adventure? Like one side if you want to be up against a brick wall, and the other side if you want like soft and squishy? You haven't noticed anything different.
No, but my kind of moving forward, I have all sorts of different plans and ideas.
Well, anyway, I am going to start pelvic floor PT. So basically...
We are going to start pelvic floor PT.
No.
You don't need like a PT doula or something?
Well,
Doodla?
God, I'm so upset about where this is coming from. But I guess my one side is overcompensating. And what blew my mind. Is the doctor, then she got out of there and she's kind of explaining things and she's like, the side is like seized up. She did say like, it's very painful. And for some women, they take Valium. It's like so intense.
And is it usually just on one side when this, or
she didn't really say that, but she did go, and it's all connected. Like, have you been having any knee problems on that side?
Head explodes.
My head exploded. I'm like, holy shit. So,
yes, I have.
It's interesting because it's the opposite side of where my microdiscectomy was. And like that side definitely, like the sides of
where
my body.
Where the incision was or where your pain was?
Where the disc was removed, like where the disc squished out.
I'm so dumb. I always thought that was like kind of centered on your body.
No, well, it is in the sense like it's from your spinal column, but it went out on my right side. And so that the pain really wasn't at the disc area, as you know, it was shooting up and down my entire right leg.
Yeah.
And so that affected how I hold myself. Like after that surgery, my right leg was significantly weaker than my left.
And that's your weak knee right now?
No.
It's the other way. Oh, because you've been putting more.
I think I've been overcompensating. Yeah. Anyway, I just need to be totally straightened out. And apparently this pelvic floor therapy will be like the source of kind of straightening it all out.
That's great.
I know. I was so relieved, and I was relieved twofold. I was obviously very relieved. It wasn't like, oh gosh, we need to have an x-ray or a biopsy. This looks cancerous. Yeah. And then I also was so relieved to have an answer and a fix. Like,
not like you got to now go, like we need to set you up for another appointment to go get this scan or something.
MRI,
yeah, and then you're spinning out. I was pretty worried yesterday morning, but I had my poker face on and I almost texted you right before you went in. And then I was like, I'm not going to do that, but I thought it would have been nice to be like, hey, like, but then I was like, I don't want to be over dramatic, but just so you know, I was a little freaked out, and I was so glad that it was.
Yeah.
Do they ever use flashlights for the vagina? And if so, do they have like a cool flashlight?
I bet they do. I feel like I have seen kind of like a headpiece that has one of those kind of scopy, long, flexible.
Yeah, and maybe has a camera and a flashlight on it.
Maybe.
Vagina cam. Nah, it has a way better name than that.
Okay, we can get this.
The VC something.
There
are vagina-specific flashlights. You know what? And if there aren't, there's gonna be.
Right. Flashlight already, that's
something you put your dong in.
I've
never done it.
I'm glad for that. I mean, no shame.
No shame.
But I am curious, like now knowing that this whole system's different for everyone, and it's kind of like I'm one of those unicorns that has one eye that's green and one eye that's brown.
But this isn't like it's been like that your whole life. This is just a current situation you have.
Yeah.
And it sounds like we're gonna massage it out, we're gonna take care of it.
We're not gonna do shit.
So what do you have to do?
Okay, well, so yesterday I was telling you, now that I know what it is, and also that she said this can be very painful for people, and we've established I do think I have a high tolerance for pain. It's like I have permission now to recognize it as painful, and
that's annoying.
It's bothering me more. Like I'm going out to picket today.
How many people are you going to tell about your vagina on the picket line today? Just guess.
3.
Jesus.
Well, I'm picketing with one friend who I know has done pelvic floor therapy, so I specifically want to ask her about it.
Are you going to tell any men, do you think?
No.
Probably not as appropriate.
Well, yeah.
I think you could pull it off.
I could, especially because I'm picketing with people I've been in a room with for the last 3 years and everyone knows everything. It's less about me feeling embarrassed and it's more about I don't want them to feel embarrassed, like hearing it, I'm obviously pretty open with this stuff, and we're all of our bodies are just sacks of cells, and I don't feel just because it's my pussy. I don't feel.
It's so funny you would even think that you could do something like that when you know how much joy I get making videos of this show lately. The fact that I have that clip now. Delightful.
Okay. Wait, hang on. I'm not done talking about
Jeez.
Hang on. So now it's feeling way more uncomfortable in a weird way.
Yeah.
But I took a bath last night and I got in there and I was kind of massaging it and it seemed to like loosen up ever so slightly.
Okay. Jesus.
What? What?
This is a PG-13 show. Come
No,
on.
it's not. I hope.
Okay, it's an
Young.
R show, but we just went NC-17 and I'm not
Why?
comfortable.
Can I say something though?
Yeah.
I'm not generally a get in there type of gal.
Again!
Wait, why is this making you uncomfortable? This is an orifice in my body.
Okay, finish the thought.
Okay. But I did have the thought, I am not usually a get in there kind of gal. And I'm sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. You're always welcome. I mean, not always, but usually. And I thought, you know what? Maybe this is the dawn of a new relationship with that area of my body. I'm doing something for it that has nothing to do with sex or being sexual.
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of it.
Was this a segue from just the fleshlight, a thought that you had? Or no?
Oh, I was thinking, what if they made a fleshlight that had one side? I'm curious who designs.
I heard of this one vagina on a podcast that they were having some muscle issues. So on one side, it was harder. So what if we made a model like that? Maybe it's limited edition. I don't know. Something cool. Maybe we charge a $5 premium for it. That's just an idea. Thanks, Derek.
I have a negative feeling towards fleshlight because a friend of mine's husband, who it turned out is a sexual deviant and was like cheating and all of this stuff. Uh-huh. That was kind of like the first step as she found that. And it was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I didn't, if I found that for you, for example, like to everyone out there who's listening, if you do have one, let your partner know
you have. That is Fleshlight 101. Might even be on their website. Or it comes in the box with it. Like, just a tip, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Tell your partner, roommate, parents.
Put it in your will.
Anyone that could find this.
In your will. Yeah. Put a note there for should you perish. And then also, just a tip. I'm sure there's some really witty, fun thing that,
just a tip, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Just
anyway, so your vagina, it's a new era.
Dawn of a new era.
Was there something else of that?
No, I mean...
Or you're just like, you're cool with it?
I'll keep everyone posted as I go along and how pelvic floor therapy is going, what's happening.
Do you have to go somewhere for that, or is it...
I am going to go, and then we'll see if we can move on to...
Those are all female therapists, though, right?
I don't know, but I do want to work with Lauren, I think.
Why?
Because I've heard good things about her.
How does she spell Lauren?
I think the normal way.
Okay, I would have preferred the cool way, but...
And is the cool way with a Y-N?
I like the...
Like Lauryn Hill?
Ooh, that is cool.
Yeah.
I also like the...
Loren.
Yeah.
Is very cool.
I like all
usually
Laurens.
a male... I will say that's usually a male spelling.
That might be the male spelling, actually.
Okay.
Okay. I have something... Can we talk about this French Family Guide I've been dying to tell you about?
Oh my God, yes.
So, for my birthday... Elizabeth got me a ton of Paris books, and we've been doing French Duolingo. Are we going to Paris soon? No, we're not.
This is all about preparing for a trip in a couple of years.
And who knows when.
Yeah.
So you got this...
I got in a beret. Did you mention that?
And a beret. And you got me a beret. But we got this book, which I've seen these books, right?
It's called Family Guide Paris from Eyewitness Travel.
Eyewitness Travel. On the back, Family Guide Paris is a perfect guide for planning and enjoying a stress-free family holiday, and has some bullet points. First one, Kids Corner features with quirky facts, quizzes, cartoons, and activities for children.
Fun.
Okay? So on
Pour les enfants.
maybe every 3 pages on the right side, there's a Kids Corner column. I pulled this book out the other day just because I thought it could be fun to look at.
Yeah, they're Post-its.
I just had
throughout
2
it.
Post-its.
Okay.
I pulled it out to go through the kids. I thought it would be fun.
Yeah.
And then I see Kids Corner because
Yes.
they're not showing any interest in this. It's pretty boring. And then I'm like, let me read a Kids Corner. The first one I jumped to, and this isn't that crazy, but I'm drawn by the headline, A Much Hated Queen. And I'm like, ooh, what's that? In the Kids Corner. And it says, foreign and considered frivolous, Marie Antoinette was hated by the Parisians and especially women. The queen was imprisoned in the concierge for several months before she was beheaded. And I was just like, I know this is all real and true, but I was like, why is the beheading thing in the Kids Corner?
Yeah.
So I get to that. And
even just before she was killed would be like, do we need the gory beheaded?
Right. So I jump out of that Kids Corner.
Oh
okay?
my God.
I get out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's find another one. And I swear to you, this is the page I opened to, and it says Hitler's Paris visit. And I'm like, Hitler's Paris visit in Kids Corner. I've got to read this, right?
Oh, God.
I'm going to read this to you. This is in the Kids Corner.
Okay.
Nazi leader Adolf Hitler arrived in Paris on a sunny Sunday morning in June 1940.
What?
He was bowled over by a 10-minute trip to the opera at 5:45 a.m.
No.
Dashed in and out of the Palace Madeleine. Was unimpressed by the Place de la Concorde, but got out of the car at the Arc de Triomphe and had his photo taken at Trocadero. He stood solemnly in front of Napoleon's tomb, but did not like the Pantheon. Already, I'm just like, what is this? And what is this?
Fuck?
Okay, but hold on. But I'm just like, Kids Corner, what is this? What is going on?
But also, oh my God, there's so much to dissect there. Okay,
just
go
wait.
ahead. Okay, go ahead.
By 10 a.m., he was finished and back at the airport and did not stop to speak to anyone.
What a jerk.
Hitler may have spent only hours in the capital, but the occupation of Paris lasted 4 long, terrible years during which thousands of the city's Jews were murdered. The city had a close shave when his orders to blow it sky high were ignored by the German army.
What?
End of Kids Corner.
What the fuck? Okay, well, this is crazy.
It's fucking insane. It is insane.
Because
blow it sky high. It's like all this fucking crazy shit. Then,
also painting this picture of like, we were blessed with a visit from a wonderful world leader, and here's how he took in Paris. Like
he took in
he was unimpressed. Then he loved this. Like what the fuck? Yeah. Then by the way, he did kill millions of people, but he didn't blow Paris sky high like he wanted to. Oh my God. So I did read another one of those Paris books.
Yeah.
And it was like 14 years old, and it showed its age.
Yeah.
And it was written by a guy who clearly like is obsessed with his own voice, which, and we all should be, I guess, his writing voice, where he's trying to be like witty. And that book was all about like, here are what Parisians are really like type thing.
Yeah.
But there was so much inappropriate stuff, like where I could see that he thought he was being like funny or kind of winky or whatever. But it's like, now the thing that no Parisian girl wants to be is a slut. Like it's that language. There was the R word in it. Yeah. I mean, I was like,
maybe it's a travel writer thing.
I was also like, in this specific book, maybe let's give it the benefit of the doubt. Like maybe some things are getting lost in translation, but you know what that makes me think of? It seems like it was written by a chat bot.
No. This is the work of.
Well, I know it wasn't, obviously, but whoever wrote that is out of their fucking mind.
I mean, for the Kids Corner with quirky facts, quizzes, cartoons, and activities for children. I mean, I guess those are quirky facts.
It's gonna blow its sky high. But even the way in, I mean, it makes me think of Succession, where Tom is like interviewing the problematic news host, and he's like, I just got to go over some stuff, like, and he's trying to be cool and bro out, and he's like you're not a Nazi, right? And the guy's like, no, and he's like, okay, I just have a few follow-up questions. This is great. And he's like, have you ever read Mein Kampf? He's like, a few times. And then I have to finish this because Tom's then like, oh, a few times. Really? How come? He's like, I'm just interested in that time of history. And he's like, and what specifically about that time of history? And he's like, well, the scope of it and like how many people were murdered. And Tom's like, right. Yes, speak more to that. And he names all of the like how many German soldiers were murdered. And Tom's like, you're missing about 6 million in those numbers. Anyway, sorry, I just recited that scene. Everyone should go watch. Shout out Succession. That is bananas.
I think, I'm guessing that it's probably not surprising that a lot of those travel books age funny, because I think to be a travel writer, like, it is a certain kind of person and author, and there's probably, I don't know, I bet there's like big gaffes like that in a lot of these guidebooks.
Clearly that person, whoever wrote that book, and I'm like, is it one person? That's what's confusing. Or did they just like Google, like, first of all, why is Hitler's visit, obviously, question number one.
In the kids' corner.
Even in a book about a family guide to Paris. Like, unless it's like you'll want to check out this statue that's like
very historical.
For the Jews lost in World War II or whatever. Like, so I feel like someone was searching for something, and then did they go to a white nationalist like website and cut and paste the like Hitler went to Paris and this is what he liked and didn't like?
I don't think. I think that's probably a stretch. I mean, I think that is all just deep history. Like, but it's just like, why is that?
Andy, that lens.
No, I'm
is
not. It's
very problematic. Like I know that the end of it gets very problematic, what with Sky High and stuff. But the first part is also very problematic.
Yeah, the whole thing's.
I will say the Marie Antoinette beheading thing.
Yeah.
Now, I think that we are more protective of our kids, of like what they're exposed to, and rightfully, I think, in terms of like violence and even like movies. I think we err on this being pretty conservative about.
Oh, I think us personally, we definitely do. Yeah.
And there are certain things I'm like, it just doesn't help our kids to know about all the gory details. They can know the broad strokes and when it's age appropriate.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when Teddy was in kindergarten and the school did something for 9/11.
Yeah.
And she came home and was like terrorized by it. And I'm like, do they need to know everything at this point in time versus like, yes, they should learn about history, but eventually like get to I feel like start broad and be like, there was this horrible situation and there was a terrorist attack and it was really horrible and it, whatever, versus like bodies were falling out of the towers and people were, whatever.
Right.
So
maybe don't share that part in kindergarten.
But
it is,
and also no heads up to the parents. Like I was,
right.
But why I brought this up is I remember being probably 9 or 10 and learning about Henry VIII. Actually, I was younger than that.
Tell me the Henry VIII. What had happened to him?
Well, he was a king and he had 7 of his wives. At least 6 of them. Uh-huh. Maybe the 7th one stuck. I don't know.
Was it polygamy or did
he
control?
No. He wanted, and I may have even been younger because I feel like this was in tandem with our big like London trip. But I became so fascinated with it and like wanted a book about Henry VIII. And I became a bit of a Henry VIII head because
What?
yeah.
Wait, how old were you?
I was young.
And you looked up to this man that was beheading all of his wives?
I didn't look up to him. I found it fascinating. And also, it was so far apart from me at that age. I was like, this is ancient Egypt, basically. Even though it was not as far back as it seemed to me.
Okay.
Not that that makes it okay, but it felt very separate from when we hear that now. We're like, when we hear about Marie Antoinette or any of these violent murders and deaths, it hits different than
Wait,
it did.
Marie Antoinette hits different than Henry VIII? Because those hit totally the same for me.
I'm saying as an adult, hearing about anyone having been beheaded comes with a level of like reverence for it versus when I was a kid and I heard that. It was almost like how we seek out kind of the thrill of a haunted house. Like it felt so separate from humanity.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes, that makes sense. Maybe a little interesting that you were so into that, though.
No, I found it fascinating, and I think in that very much in that kind of like why people watch horror films and stuff like that. I found it interesting. To be clear, not a fan of Henry VIII. Like, never was.
Okay. I'm glad you cleared
Never
that
was.
up.
Okay. Moving on.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about... You've had some other kind of like shitty interactions with people. I know we've been talking about a lot of that, but you keep asking me like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to talk about that because I have a crazy theory I wanted to
Oh my God. I'm dying to hear that.
run by you. But like to set the stage,
Okay.
Catch people up with like the annoying shit.
There is a crosswalk by our school that most of the kids cross to get to school. And it is so unsafe. It's a 4-way stop for whatever. I think it's because it's pretty wide or something. Cars are so aggressive.
There's
like they don't
something
have the
about it.
patience for people to cross all the way.
Yeah.
I would say conservatively, like 40% of cars roll through it.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy.
on a daily basis, there is like a near miss. And we used to have a crossing guard. She was taken away during the pandemic. I'm in touch with city council. I'm in touch with neighborhood council. I'm in touch with the police department. I have been like putting a lot of time towards trying to get a new crossing guard. There's a shortage right now. It's a whole thing. So anyway, the other day I was crossing and once again, a car didn't even roll through, like didn't even slow down really.
Mm-hmm.
Was going through the stop sign at me, like right when I was on the other side crossing.
Yeah.
And so I stopped and motioned for him to stop.
Yeah.
And he kind of slowed down. And then when I motioned him for him to stop, he slowed down in the sense that he was about to hit me. When I motioned for him to stop, he actually slammed on the gas at me. And I had to jump out of the way. And I did get a picture of his car and license plate and him. And I was like so in shock that I was like, what are you doing or something? And he was like, keep walking. And there were 2 other parents who witnessed this whole thing. The car behind him like drove past and was like, what an asshole, trying to find a solution to this problem in terms of the red tape of politics. But that moment really shook me in an existential way where I was like, that guy could have killed me.
Yeah.
And then, the horrific thing that happened in Texas where the neighbor was shooting a gun and they didn't want him to do it because the baby was sleeping.
At like 11 at night.
And so he went and mowed down the entire family, including a child, where I'm just like, not to equate these 2 things, obviously, but I truly was like, that guy, had he had an ounce more anger, like could have killed me in this moment, flash of rage.
Sure.
And what was so upsetting is his wife, I'm assuming, a woman was sitting in the passenger seat looking at her phone, texting or whatever, did not look up during this entire time.
Yeah.
Like, did not look up when he was rolling the stop sign, did not look up. Like, And it makes me think he must just be so rageful. This is so another day in the car with so-and-so. Or is she like, is this a domestic violence situation? Very likely, where she's like, I just don't want to make this worse because I'm going to pay the price. I don't know. But it's made me really question what is the point. And I used to have the Catholic version of me thought, well, they're going to pay the price in hell or the afterlife or purgatory. There is a sense of justice beyond this when it's people like this. And it's like Donald Trump, where you're like, people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they don't. It's like, they don't. There are no consequences for these people. And what is the point of this life then? It makes me really spiral.
Well, so it got me thinking, and when you asked me, you laid it out like this to me a few nights ago, and you mentioned like the religion of it. And since then, the religion of it, I've been thinking of that in a different way, sort of. There's this book I read maybe like 10 years ago called Ego as the Enemy by this guy, Ryan Holiday. And he's this author, he's put out a ton of books since, and it's like kind of become like the face of like, there's like a renewed interest in like Stoicism philosophy. And so he has like a bunch of books on that. But anyways, I really liked this book, Ego is the Enemy, that I read a long time ago. And he popped up on YouTube, an interview with him. And I was like, oh, I wonder what that guy's up to. And I was watching this interview, and he got to this one part where he was talking about, he moved to a farm in Austin, and he was talking about an incident where like they had a big problem with coyotes or something like that, right? That were coming and hurting the chickens or something like that. And how like struck he was by watching a horrendous incident where like a coyote came over, killed one of the chickens of like, there were maybe like just 3 of them that lived together, right? And how crazy that moment was. And then after it was done, the other 2 chickens that were left that have lived with this other 3rd chicken were just like, okay. Like they just kind of snapped back to life, right? And that moment, I'm connecting these 2 things where it's like, before let's just say we're all animals, there is this just like, you see some animals where it's just like, you just quickly adapt and like, you move on, and it's almost like, well, those chickens, what is the point for them? Are they thinking about that their best friend just got killed, or is it like not even on their radar? Is it just, is survival all that matters? And I was thinking about us as humans way back in the day. We were just trying to survive, right? Whether we were cavemen.
You mean with our primal brain stems?
Sure.
Yes.
And killing for us wasn't a big deal probably because like we had to just kill to survive. And so I was thinking like, was the whole genesis of religion sort of like, wow, we're starting to take over as a species, but like, we got to get a grip on this like killing thing sort of like, how can we stop people from killing each other? Let's make up a story that if you do bad things, you're going to go to hell. You're going to burn. Like, were we such pieces of shit way back in the day? Or not necessarily pieces of shit. Were we just animals? Like,
right.
But is a religion a part of that story of trying to find some sort of system to deal with this, us evolving and getting smarter and smarter, but also trying to curb that animal stuff?
Maybe. I mean, I also think it's a source of power for people to be like, I have this answer.
Yeah. Oh,
but I also, like the dark age, I will say, even what we're talking about, like how we don't expose our kids to these like horrific violent things, how I think our parents' generation's sense of humor was like way more mean-spirited and like there's kind of a wave of kindness happening. I mean, on some levels, and you still have this guy who's going to almost kill a woman because she asked him to play by the rules.
Right.
But I do think in general, like we are evolving in a very positive direction.
Yes.
The Dark Ages, I mean, children were treated so horrifically for so long that it, and also kind of the value of life, I feel like, was less because, out of 4 kids, 1 made it. If you're lucky,
totally. Yeah.
Things have gotten better and better and better for humans in terms of like
But
all of this.
Were those things less traumatic? Let's say 500 years ago. Okay. You have 9 kids, half of which don't make it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
is it less traumatic for that person?
It's like exposure therapy. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't want to minimize anyone's trauma.
Or is it like, 2,000 years ago, is there, the village that, kills somebody, and is it like just one person that's like, I don't know, man, that wasn't that cool? Or is it just like all survive? Like, I don't know.
Can I ask you something though? Because like you brought this up and you were like, I have a theory. And so the theory is so not helpful to me in terms of like, the theory you're bringing up was religion created to like basically have a sense of rules around like morality when possibly, and by the way, this was another thing that made me feel very demoralized.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a picture of that guy's car, license plate, whatever. I called the LAPD non-emergency line to see if I could file a complaint or something. No one's there. Like the tax money that we pay to the police is insanely bloated. I am very anti like militarizing our police. I think the LAPD is so corrupt, and am all for defunding the police and putting that money towards having professionals who can deal with psychological issues and help unhoused people with mental illness. And it's not just, what I found is like there really is no recourse unless that guy had killed me or hit me or something. Unless I had videotaped him going through the stop sign, there's no crime to it. Like no crime was committed. And so so it's, policing is just reactive to versus like preventative here. And also the fact that like I was on hold, or not on hold. The phone was ringing for the LAPD non-emergency line for over an hour.
Yeah.
I was on it the whole time I was at my kids' gymnastics class, and no one answered. There's no way to leave a message. There's no nothing. And I was just like, fuck everything. Like, fuck it all. The system is so broken.
Right.
Humans are terrible. It just made me feel really down. Now,
but I think you could argue against the system doesn't work great. But I think almost what I'm saying is like it is somewhat of a miracle that as humans we have evolved in this way that we've at least tried to make these systems, whether it is government, whether it is the police, whether it is religion, like all these different things that we have created to try to, some of them are there to provide meaning, right? Mm-hmm. But a lot of them, I think I was just realizing like have been created to put some sort of order in this, because it does seem like we do kind of want to be good, right? Like we do, like where, in that I think that has been an evolution. I don't think we gave a shit about this stuff when we were more animal, like we were just trying to survive. Period.
Yeah, no, I do think it's an evolution. And then part of me, like, I do find weird comfort in trying to grasp for meaning. And, I like to think that there is something beyond this, and this is kind of like a momentary situation for us to live through and to try to enjoy and find love in. And in order to find joy and love, like the bad stuff has to exist. Sure. I mean, part of being human is enduring bad things. And when, getting through bad things in some ways can make life so much richer and more enjoyable. Sure. Like if you have sunshine every day, all day, you take it for granted. But when you've had rain for 3 weeks, when the sun shines, you're like, oh, yay, it's sunshiny. And so part of me thinks like, okay, just the bad has to exist. Like assholes just have to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy's not always an asshole. There are times that he's probably less than for others. I don't know.
No, but I think what bums you out, and tell me if I'm right, and also go check out Elizabeth's podcast on death and dying, The One Sure Thing, if you want to hear
Thank you.
More about this kind of stuff, is you're like, well, fuck. If this really is, I think your conundrum is, if this really is just it, like if there is nothing after this, and there are these people going around doing this shit, and there is no consequence, you're like, then what the fuck is the point, sort of? Like, that's your dilemma, right? Like,
and even if there is something after this, I now don't believe that it's like a punishing, I don't know what it is. I was trying to think, well, maybe someone like that is going to the after and they're just like less evolved and they have to like come back, and I don't know. I'm like, I don't know what it is, but it makes me think. I'm even being way more optimistic now, like right when that happened. And I was kind of just like moments like that, and like what happened in Texas, and just people being so horrible and giving into like these insanely evil impulses. It makes me just think, well, shit, maybe there is no point, and we are just bacteria, and we're like
Right.
the Dark Ages. We are just all out killing each other, and nothing matters.
I mean, that Texas thing to me is so scary because you're just like, it's beyond a nightmare for everybody involved. And like, not in anyone's wildest dreams would have they thought, those neighbors thought, that guy's reaction would have been coming in and killing 5 of them, right? Like, it's so out of bounds. And so how horrendous and tragic it is, that makes me very sad. But then it also makes me very scared that like people fucking snap, and that we are so powerless, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with this guy driving, and it was not equating obviously the horrific events, but it was 2 men being told not to do something that was illegal and problematic.
Mm-hmm.
And what do? They go and do the very thing.
Yeah, that impulse. You saw that impulse, which is scary. Yeah.
It's so scary. And it's like, how can this be? I don't know. And I've tried to have empathy for this guy, and I'm like, what has he been through in his life that makes it possible for him to like have access to that sort of,
that's like,
by the way, it was a Mercedes SUV, which also with a...
was it one of the cool boxy ones, or no?
No, and it had I'm like, it's not... The fact that he's obviously wealthy adds like some layer of like, fuck you. I don't know. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that, those just things suck. I don't think you have to... It's probably annoying for me to be like, shake it off, and I'm not saying that, but it's like, you don't have to make such like, it's nice that you're trying to try to find the empathy or this or that. It's like, I think you can be like, fuck that person, and just like move forward from it. Like, you don't have to pay them any mind.
Yeah.
And save that empathy. I mean, if the empathy helps you navigate life and like why these shitty people, that's great. But like, save that empathy for people that deserve it from you.
Oh, that's nice. And I will say time has helped, and and I knew that this time. I was like, I'm spiraling, I'm in it deep, but it's going to be fine. And there will be moments of joy. And like, time and positive interactions and positive moments have definitely kind of dissipated that. And also I'm like, I'm avoiding that intersection now at all costs, especially when I'm with the kids.
Yeah.
So we're taking the long way, so that helps. Like, that gives me some sense of control.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I'm I was on the I was on the city council. There was a city council meeting on Wednesday, and like I left the picket line to go sit on the city council call because I wanted to make a statement about the state of crossing guards and LA Department of Transportation, and I was on it for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I didn't get a chance to speak because it was taking so long, and all of these people with truly nothing to say except rage about nothing, people who also are obviously dealing with mental illness, and I think those people should have a voice also, but it was incredibly frustrating not getting to say something that actually would have an actionable, potentially positive
what kind
outcome.
Of stuff were they trying to bring up?
One person's raging against Democrats just in general, and how, things have gone to hell in a handbasket. Then there's like a ton of people who are there for a purpose, and it's all these leans. So
what's that mean?
Like on the city council agenda, there are all these items, and the first 30 of them are all like liens against this building or this or that.
LIENS?
Yeah. So it's a like real estate kind of hold, and both sides would be there like arguing why.
Yeah, sure.
So that was boring, but like purposeful.
Yeah.
But then it was mostly like the public comment was mostly just like nonsense. And I mean, one guy also like got up there, and he's there to like hit on all the ladies. And he's like, to the lady in the front with the polka dot dress, what's up?
Wait, was he in the building, or was he like...
He was watching
like a Zoom of it?
Yes. And I'm sitting there.
That says
I'm sitting there an hour and 15 minutes into this goddamn shit, wanting to say, like, please approve item number 55, which would fortify LA Dot's crossing guard program. We desperately need it.
Oh, God.
And he's sitting there, like, harassing the women who are, it's...
Have you ever seen in those videos of, I think it's Chad and JT, they're like the very bro-y, like, Huntington Beach comedians that go to those meetings, and they do hilarious shit.
Yeah.
Like, they've been on Ellen and stuff.
But that's also annoying. Like,
if you're
the one waiting, who I'm
right.
like, I'm trying to keep our kids safe.
Yeah. At least those guys are bringing levity to the people working there that have to deal with the crazies every week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. But anyway, I appreciate you. I feel much lighter and much more hopeful. It was a momentary, like, feeling really demoralized and kind of what is the point. But
it's also crazy that when you told me this, it kind of reminded me of like when you were doing the dog rescue days.
It reminds me of that too.
And like you would have a string of these incidents. And like, so when you told me about this most recent incident, I was like, fuck, it's crazy that happened. Like, is the universe trying to tell you like you are the one to like restore this crossing? Like,
well,
I'm like,
I mean,
why does this keep happening to you? Right? It's pretty wild.
Well, when you put it that way, it does make it seem like there is meaning.
So take that.
So yeah, like everything's kind of transpiring like in a way so that I will take action, and I am, and it's like I am one of those people who when I set my mind to something like this, I will see it through, and it is very fucking annoying. Like dealing with the red tape of LA politics to do this is super annoying, but I'm going to do it because I have thought, like, if, we're not going to use that crosswalk anymore if we can avoid it. But if in 3 years I hear about a kid getting hit and
totally.
I didn't do what I could, it would be very hard to sleep at night. So
I had, speaking of like a traumatic thing, I witnessed a really bad bike accident.
Oh, yeah.
Recently. I will say I did take comfort that I was the first person to call 911. And I did take comfort at how quickly they showed
That's good.
How streamlined that process was and how quickly
Yeah,
everybody got
it was
there.
a cyclist basically was going really fast, and a minivan was pulling out, and the cyclist just
I mean, it was really
head
gnarly.
first went, and you said, I mean,
the person
you were with the kids and you did the right thing, and that was something I was so touched by afterwards. You're such a good dad, and I could get emotional. Like, never for a second in that situation was I concerned that you weren't doing the right thing by our kids at every moment, and you did, and you like positioned them in a way where they couldn't see, but they were safe. They were close enough that you had your eyes on them, but far away enough from like the chaos. And
yeah, I did have to leave them and run out to
the street, to this
Yeah,
guy, and
yeah.
you said you were worried he might not have made it.
Yeah, I've definitely Googled to try to see.
Have you gotten any info?
No. So I would imagine he was okay, but like his whole face was completely blood. It was really gnarly. But I don't even know why obviously I know why I brought that up, but
the lesson that, I think it's good to see things through the lens of what you tell your kids in a way. And the way you were framing it for the kids to make it okay, or not okay, but at least not as horrific, was, well, first of all, he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And second of all, wasn't that cool how everyone came together? Like, you ran over to call 911. Someone else ran over to like get his helmet off. Someone else came over and was directing traffic.
Like everybody sprung to action. I was like, that's really good. And you notice, like, I was like, my job was to call 911, and look how quick everyone came. That guy moved the bike out of the way. That, like, because one of our kids, it really freaked out. And so, yeah, I was trying to frame it by like, I know this was really scary, but look at how good people are. Everybody rushed to help this person. Speaking of which, weird to see the person in the vehicle, how they reacted, which I don't know how I would react if I was in the vehicle, but they were kind of stunned and did not like check on the person with blood all over their face on the ground. Like,
no.
Yeah, but it was, I mean, also though, by that time, someone had gotten to the guy before they even got out of the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I was probably the first person there to see it, and I'm like telling the kids, stay right here, and I'm walking over, grabbing my phone, getting on 911. As I'm grabbing my phone, another guy ran to the guy, and so I was like, all right, that guy's with the guy. I'm not going to go to the guy. I'm going to stay. I mean, I was 10 feet from the guy. Yeah. I'm on the phone, and I was helping with traffic, and anyways, but it was, I did take it in that moment, like, whoa, this is a life-changing day for that woman.
Yeah, people in shock, I think, respond all sorts of ways. And, I think both of our kids were so upset. One of them has access to upset feelings, and the other one, I think, was so overwhelmed by the upset feelings it couldn't really, totally. Like, it's, there's no exact way that people respond. I mean, anyway.
Woo!
What a horrible way to end.
I do want to, someone commented asking about Carly stuff.
Thank God we have this.
Because I think I might go try to make some Carly's magic after this podcast. What I would recommend to anybody curious about car leasing, there's a site called leasehacker.com that start there, and it's spelled LeaseHacker.com. So there's no ER at the end. It's just an R, leasehacker.com. Mm-hmm. That's a really good place to start for anybody.
I also want to mention something that's a also positive note. Lease Hacker, obviously, what a gift. But just a little something as a palate cleanser as we all go into our days is I went to Guisado's recently, which is a local taco spot.
Sure.
And all the employees are wonderful. There was a woman employee who was so friendly and sweet and like perky.
Yeah.
And she was wearing, so like, I think that they all were in Guisado's t-shirts or something.
Sure.
But she was wearing it in a stylish way.
Yeah.
And then had a skirt on, and then had like 4-inch stiletto heels.
Yeah.
And this is a job where she's like on her feet
Fucking A.
all
Wow. Yeah.
day.
But bringing her own thing.
Bringing her own thing. And also, I mean, I'm not a like big heels person, and given the state of my body, I don't think I ever will become one. But
yeah.
I was like, you are doing what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, I also admired like, it's got to hurt a little bit by the end of the day. I just appreciated that she like was owning it and was being fully herself and coming to work in her 4-inch stilettos and cute outfit and making it work for her. And it brightened my day.
It brightened your day. I had a similar thing happen yesterday at In-N-Out, and this also speaks to someone wrote in and was curious if I get anxiety when I'm ordering food at drive-thrus.
Yes.
The answer to that question real quick is not really, and I think because drive-thrus in LA, typically I like to go to In-N-Out, or I don't know, they're typically long, like the In-N-Out line's long, so I have plenty of time to figure out what I'm going to do. And my drive-thru stuff, I know what I'm going to do. So I'm pretty good at drive-thrus. The lady that takes your money was so goddamn nice. I'm like, oh, that's fun. Then I get to to get my food, and I like asking for some yellow chili peppers that they have.
Yes.
The last few times I've gone, I've gotten these like chopped peppers. I'm like, what the fuck is that? So while I'm in this huge long drive-through line, I'm on my phone being like, did In-N-Out get rid of the peppers?
Yeah.
And there was something from 2016 where there was a shortage, and I was like, that's not it.
Okay.
Then I see a recent thing that was like, oh, maybe there is a shortage again. And I was like, oh. And I get to the line, and I go, can I have some of the yellow hot peppers? And she looks at me and she goes, they're back. And was so like happy about it. And both, like the cashier being nice and then that happening, it just buoyed my day.
That's so nice.
So
congrats.
We love when people buoy our spirits at restaurants.
Yes, we do.
So do your job, servers.
Andy, no, don't.
No? Smile more.
Oh my
What
gosh.
is that? What is that? What's the worst way for like
where's your smile?
Where's your smile?
Oh my God. I want to say, having worked in the restaurant, having been a server.
Smile more.
No. To anyone who is like that, like so positive, you are doing the Lord's work. Because I guarantee you, I just had a scowl on the entire time. Like, that is a hard job. It's pretty thankless. And so I truly appreciate it.
I think what we're speaking to, we're not saying, I'm joking of that everyone should be like that. What was so delightful about these experiences was how authentic they were.
Right.
Right? So just do you, is what we're saying.
Do you. On that note, good night. Night.